Let's continue exploring the universe within art and the art behind farming. I'm your host, Amledu, and in this episode, we're going to build a super simple blaze farm. This was requested by CRX No Suffer. Thank you so much for leaving a comment and a request. I really hope that you enjoy. This design will work for both Bedrock and Java, and is so super simple to build, it is totally awesome. Because of spawner mechanics, you don't have to worry about spawn proofing or any of that stuff. The box is big enough to ensure that blazes just keep on spawning regardless of how many are loaded. So with this, you will be able to farm all of the blaze rods that you could ever possibly need. Here are the materials that you will need in order to build this farm. Now, the potion of fire resistance is not necessary, it's just always nice to keep one handy when you're in the nether. You will also need a ton of glass or building blocks, and if you're on Bedrock, the stuff at the bottom is for the trident killer. The first thing we need to do is find a blaze spawner at a nether fortress, and then block the blazes from spawning by placing a torch on each side of the spawner, like so. Now, if you're playing on Java, you will also need extra torches around the spawner, because the spawn area is bigger on Java. But either way, once you've blocked the spawns, we now need to clear out the area around the spawner. We need to go down by 7 blocks under the spawner, to the sides by 5, and above by 3. Now be very careful when digging down, because odds are that there is a lava lake underneath you. And once you've cleared out that area, you will need a platform that is 7 blocks below the spawner. That is 7 blocks of air in between the platform and the spawner. This platform should be 11 by 11, so 5 blocks in each direction from the center of the spawner. And keep in mind that if you can't dig under the spawner, you can always branch out from a lower section of the fortress. But we're going to need another platform that is 5 blocks under our 11 by 11. So 7 blocks of air between the spawner and the 11 by 11 platform, and then 5 blocks of air between that platform and the bottom one. And the bottom platform doesn't need to be any specific size. But on the upper one, we're going to dig a 2 by 2 hole that includes the center block, and it doesn't matter which direction it's offset, but then we're going to place 5 signs, one on the side inside the hole, and then 4 signs on top of that one, so that they're floating above the hole like so. Then come down here to the bottom, and we need to place an additional circle of blocks around this hole, so that the hole is 2 blocks deep. Now, if you're playing on Bedrock, we need to build a trident killer. On one of the 2 center blocks, we need to place a piston facing toward the inside, and then 3 more pistons that are 1 block away from each other like so. Now on the other center block, we need to place observers that are looking at all 4 of these pistons, and then we need 4 droppers, 1 on each corner. And it doesn't matter which direction these droppers are facing. Now we need to grab a lever, and on the side of any of those 4 droppers, we're going to place a lever, turn it on, and then turn it off. And now the pistons should move in a circular pattern like so. Now turn it back on to make it stop. Then we need to cap off the bottom by placing a 4 by 4 section of solid blocks right there. Now place 2 temporary blocks in the middle so that we can place a double chest 1 block down and aligned with one of the far sides of our 4 by 4 covering. Now we need 4 hoppers pointed into this double chest. Make sure all of those hoppers are pointed into the chest, and those 4 hoppers will be aligned with the 4 center blocks of our 4 by 4. Now we need some minecart hoppers, so place a rail on one of the 2 front hoppers, and if that rail is facing to the side, like this, we need to redirect it so that it's pointing toward the back. Then we need to place a glass pane on the back hopper, a hopper minecart on the rail, and then push the hopper minecart all the way to the glass pane, and then break out the rail. So now that hopper minecart is above both of those bottom hoppers. And then do the same thing on this side. Now technically, there are other ways to build a collection system on a trident killer, but ever since 121, I've had a problem using a single minecart with hopper, so I just have you build 2 to be safe. Then go back up to the top and throw in your trident. Now remember that you can always throw in up to 4 tridents to kill the mobs a little bit faster, but this won't affect the rates at all. But of course, if you're on Java, you cannot build a trident killer. So all you'll have to do is build a little platform for them to stand on, poke a hole in the wall so that you can then kill them by hand with your sword. But regardless of your kill chamber, come back up to the top, and we need to build a wall on the edge of this 11 by 11 that is 3 blocks tall. And I recommend using glass just so you can see the inside of the farm. But you could totally use solid blocks if you so desire. But now in all 4 of the corners, 1 block above the ground, we need to place a bucket of lava. So 1 block of air between the platform and the bucket of lava, 1 in each of the 4 corners, like so. This will push the blazes into the kill chamber just like water does for regular mobs. Now we need to extend all of the walls up by 8 blocks, so that they will be 3 blocks taller than the spawner. And again, you can use solid blocks or you can use glass, but I would recommend using glass so that you can see the inside of the farm. So go up by 8 blocks on all 4 of the walls. Make sure that there are 4 blocks of air in between the walls and the spawner, and that there are 3 blocks above the spawner. So on this 3rd block, we're going to build a ceiling. So there will be 2 blocks of air in between the spawner and the ceiling, except that we need a piece of glass that is floating 1 block above the spawner. So air above the spawner and then a piece of glass. Now we can break out our torches, but be careful when you do this because blazes will spawn and they'll start floating upwards. So go ahead and build most of your ceiling before you break out the torches. I would highly recommend building the ceiling out of either glass or adding spawn proofing because you don't want other mobs to spawn up there and torment you. Now that glass that is floating above the spawner will allow blazes to spawn on top of the spawner, but it will push them off so they don't idle there. I've seen a lot of people place a slab on top of the spawner, but that will actually lower your rates by reducing the available spawn area. And lately, I've noticed that trident killers seem to be pushing mobs through the wall more often. So what you can do is add another layer of solid blocks all around your trident killer to fix this. Just be very careful that you don't fall off into lava, or if you do, just make sure that you have your fire potion of resistance on hand so that you can survive. But also, it might be nice to build a little room down here because this is where we're going to AFK. So maybe have a safe room with a door so that you can hold your looting sword and let the farm run. Now when it comes to AFKing this farm, really you can be anywhere that you see that the spawner is active. If the spawner has little fire particles, that means that you are close enough. The radius of a spawner is 16 blocks in all directions in a sphere. So you, the player, need to be within 16 blocks of the spawner for it to activate. So it will be active from anywhere down here. And we can see this by backing up until those little flame particles disappear. And since the radius is a sphere, we know that it will be active from anywhere in front of us until at least we're underneath the spawner. So anywhere in this area will be totally fine to AFK. Now one last thing to mention is that you do want to keep blazes away from the ceiling and the walls. If blazes do get close enough to the spawner, they will kind of stop the spawner from working. So just make sure that blazes from the fortress can't make their way on top of the farm or to the walls. And with that, you have now built a max rate blaze farm. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you did or didn't like about this video, or if you have any questions or requests, and I will do my best to help you out. Or if you don't know what to say, just tell me hi. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. But until then, I've been your host, Ledoux, building an awesome farm with you, and reminding you as always, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye!